Good afternoon. Hi, this is Dr. Peter Kan with the Ask Dr. Kan Show. This is episode number 39 of the Ask Dr. Kan Show. Every Monday at 12:30 Arizona time, we bring you content that's going to help you get well and stay well. Now, I'm a chiropractic neurologist, functional medicine, practice integrated medicine as well. And my practice is filled with people with chronic health conditions that's been everywhere, done everything, tried everything else. Nothing's working until they come to our office. At our website at askdrkan.com, we have over 100 video testimonials. Over 100. And I'm not telling you that to brag. I'm telling you that so you know that there's hope. Doesn't matter how severe or how long you had the problem, what your doctor tell you, your lab test is all normal, you still don't feel right. There's hope because you haven't done everything possible. And many times the missing piece is just right in front of your eyes. So today, on this special episode, I'm going to talk about fatigue and brain fog. Why do I want to talk about that? Because that's the number one symptom that I hear patients complain to me about. Regardless whether they have autoimmune disease, they have thyroid problem, they have digestion issues, almost without a doubt, every single person comes and says, I wish my energy level could be better than it is. I just suffer with severe fatigue where it's hard for me to do the things that I want to do. It's hard for me to get through the day. And along with fatigue, they also experience brain fog. These are probably the two most commonly complained symptoms for me. Give me a thumbs up if you also struggle with fatigue or brain fog, or both. Give me some thumbs up. Okay, I see. So a lot of you have fatigue and brain fog, just like in my patient population. So now, there's a lot of misconception about what fatigue and brain fog is, okay? So what I want to do is I want to explain to you where's the genesis, what does fatigue really mean? Where does it come from? Where do you experience that? And what are the causes for fatigue and brain fog? There's actually 7 common causes that you may not have think about, that your doctor may not have checked for, that you need to know if you want to overcome your fatigue and brain fog and get your energy back and get your brain function and mental clarity on the up and up. Okay, so now fatigue. What is fatigue? Is fatigue different than is it just being tired? Well, let me tell you this. If you are a mom, right, you do a lot of stuff and you're busy, I have 4 kids, so my wife, she's amazing. She take care of the kids, she also take care of the practice, she also is a practicing physician, she also take care, of business. I mean, she's busy. I just work for her, basically. And so, after a long day, yeah, you're going to be tired running around doing stuff. And so you're tired, you go to sleep, you rest. The next day, you're no longer tired. That's normal, right? That's just being tired, and you recover. If you rest and you sleep, the next day, you still feel like you've been hit by a truck, you never recover, and you have that over and over again, that's called fatigue. So fatigue basically is tiredness that just doesn't go away. Can you help them turn off that sound? All right, so there's a difference between being fatigued and being tired, okay? So if you rest and you don't recover, that is called fatigue. Now, some people say, okay, well, my muscle's tired. Fatigue is experienced in the muscle. I'm going to tell you, fatigue is not experienced in the muscle. Fatigue is actually experienced in your brain. If you have fatigue, just go ahead and say that you have brain symptom. Because fatigue is really a neurological symptom. Let me explain to you why. If you have a, say, nerve root lesion, like an S1 nerve, the nerve that innervates your foot is compressed or you have disc herniation, that nerve is being pinched, you're going to have drop foot. Your muscle's weak, you can't lift your foot up. Muscle weakness, right? If you have a drop foot, does that automatically mean that your brain's tired, you have no energy? Not necessarily so. It just means you have drop foot, right? So muscle weakness is not the same as fatigue either. So fatigue is not experienced in your muscle. Fatigue is actually experienced in your brain. So if you say, yeah, I have fatigue, just go ahead and raise your hand and say, I have a brain symptom. Just go ahead and say that. Because without recognizing the symptom for what it is and where it's coming from, where it's produced, you can't fix it because you're going to go for the wrong treatment. Does that make sense? Okay, so fatigue. Now, another symptom commonly associated with fatigue is called brain fog. Now, if you don't know what brain fog is, you probably don't have it, or it's just really hard to put into words. Brain fog basically is that feeling like you're just foggy-headed, you can't concentrate, you can't think, you just like, you want to snap out of it. It's not necessarily like you want to sleep, although it could be that. Basically, it's really hard to explain. And if it's really hard to explain, that's basically what it is, right? because it's foggy. So a lot of patients with fatigue also suffer with brain fog. And these are two of the most commonly complained symptoms to me. Now the question is, what can cause fatigue and brain fog? Because if you go to your primary care physician, your medical practitioner, and they say, hey doc, I have fatigue and brain fog. What is that medication that they write on a prescription pad that you take that prescription down to Walgreens and Walgreens will fill that prescription, that your insurance will cover the prescription, that you can just take, that'll make your fatigue and brain fog go away. What is that FDA approved drug for fatigue and brain fog? It starts with an N, ends with a G. It's nothing. There's no FDA approved drug for fatigue and brain fog because those are symptoms, you see. Fatigue and brain fog is a symptom. You must identify the cause of fatigue and brain fog. So I'm going to give you 7 common causes for fatigue and brain fog. And these are things that are either not commonly checked or they check it but they don't check it comprehensively to really identify the real issue. Okay, so hopefully this will help you. Now, if you're following us today live on Facebook, give me some hearts here so I know that you're following me live. Let's see it. All right, great. All right, we've got tons of people following live. Awesome. If you're on Instagram, feel free to post comments and questions. Same thing on Facebook. Feel free to post comments and questions. I'll get to it during the show if I can. If I don't, I'll get to it after the show. I answer every single comment and question personally. Okay? So please ask any question that you may have about this. So fatigue and brain fog. Okay, so what are the 7 common reasons for that? Number 1, brain dysfunction. Okay, what does that mean? Remember, I said fatigue is actually a brain symptom. It's a neurological symptom. You experience fatigue in your brain, not in your butt. All right, I'm being like facetious about it, but really you experience fatigue in your brain. So what are some of the things that can impact brain function? Well, your brain requires fuel, sorry about that, fuel and activation. Brain cells have to have fuel or energy source, right? What is a preferred energy source for the brain? It is glucose. So you need glucose, which comes from the food that you eat, and you also need oxygen. So those are a source of fuel for your brain. So if your blood sugar is not just perfect, right? So some people will say, oh, glucose, so let me go eat some sugar. That's not what it means. In fact, if you eat sugar in the form of simple sugar and refined carb, it actually exacerbates the problem. It'll cause a lack of fuel delivery to the brain. Because what happens when you eat glucose or eat simple sugar, you're going to spike your insulin. When you spike your insulin, then the insulin is going to get the sugar out of your blood and you're going to have a low blood sugar episode, reactive hypoglycemia following. And if you eat glucose and refined carb all the time, you're going to create insulin resistance, which will decrease the amount of glucose that's delivered to your body. Okay, so eating glucose or simple refined carb or sugar is actually the way to screw up your blood sugar. So don't do that. Oxygen. This comes from breathing oxygen, obviously, but you can also have anemia. If you're anemic, then that means you can't carry oxygen in your blood. That can also decrease fuel to the brain. So some of the things that we do on blood tests is we check for fasting blood glucose, we check for hemoglobin A1C to get your last 2-3 month blood sugar average. We also want to check your insulin. We want to check your lactic acid dehydrogenase, which is a marker that tells me about hypoglycemic tendency. So there's a lot of tests we can do for glucose. Oxygen, we want to do complete blood count, checking red blood cell, hemoglobin, hematocrit, and so forth, as well as checking iron, ferritin, total iron binding capacity, and so forth. So this way we can rule out anemia. So on lab work, there's things we can do and to make sure that you're delivering fuel to the brain. The other side of that is activation. Your brain cells have to be activated, have to be stimulated to stay alive. Just for your brain cells to stay alive, it needs more than oxygen and glucose. It needs to be activated. Your brain cells need to be stimulated all the time. And one of the best ways to stimulate brain cells actually is through movement. That's why physical activity and exercise is so important. Without movement and proprioception, which is joint position sense, your brain just doesn't get stimulated. So we must exercise, we must move. And activation also, besides movement, also comes from using your brain to do creative things, to do novel things, right? To continue to learn. If you're just doing the same task over and over again, you have a job where you just do the same thing over and over again, that doesn't require much creativity or there's not much change. You just do the same thing over and over again. Your brain tends not to develop very much plasticity. the ability to make new connections. You want your brain to remain plastic, to be able to make new connections. And the way you do that is by training it to do that, right? By learn a new language, learn a new skill, learn a new sport, learn a new hobby, get exposed to new ideas and new concepts. That's how you can keep the brain activated. That is so important because when your brain is functioning optimally, you're going to have less fatigue and brain fog. Another factor that can cause fatigue and brain fog is gut dysfunction. How so? Because your gut and your brain has I drew the wrong arrow here. Gut and brain has a two-way communication, neurologically and immunologically. So what happens is when your gut becomes inflamed, your brain will also become inflamed. When your brain becomes inflamed, that is experienced as brain fog. When you experience brain fog, it's actually a sign of neuroinflammation, inflammation in your brain. Okay? And inflammation in the gut can definitely trigger that. So what are some of the things that can cause inflammation in the gut? Food sensitivity. You can have chronic infection, such as candida or yeast infection of the gut. You can have bacterial infection in the gut that's chronic. You can have parasitic infection. You can even have viral infection in the gut. Chronic infection can also lead to gut issues and gut inflammation. Toxicity issues. Things like pesticides, herbicides, like organophosphate, which is an active ingredient in Roundup, that can create toxicity in the gut and destroy your microbiome, your beneficial bacteria. Heavy metal toxicity can also damage the gut lining. You know, chemicals in like processed food and artificial colors and preservatives can all cause problem in the gut lining, so toxicity issues. And stress is also something that can definitely cause gut issues. Stress hormone, the effect of stress hormone on the gut. And all of these basically leads to leaky gut. When you have a leaky gut, which is chronic inflammation in the gut lining and causing malabsorption and chronic inflammation, that can lead to this inflammation that we're talking about, and that can feed to the brain, causing neuroinflammation, leading to brain fog. So a lot of time when you feel fatigue and brain fog, the answer is not just necessarily like one place, or hey, I read on the internet, you know, magnesium is good for fatigue and brain, or B complex is good. Oh, that's irrelevant. Don't think about like a individual supplement that's going to fix something. Don't think like that. We've been kind of conditioned to think like, oh, it's one pill for one symptom. You're doing nothing. You're just doing, instead of a drug, you're using a supplement to treat a symptom. Don't take a magnesium or B complex for this stuff. Find out what's the actual underlying reason. If your blood sugar is not perfect, work on your blood sugar, changing your diet. If you have anemia, right, then you can, yes, you may take iron if you have iron deficiency anemia, but most of the time I see people have gut absorption issue due to leaky gut, and therefore they're not absorbing the iron. So it may be due to one of these issues, and taking a magnesium or B complex is not going to do anything for your fatigue and brain fog. So treat the root cause instead of just taking something, right? The show has been 39 weeks straight that I've been talking to you. If this is the first time you're watching, go back and watch the old episodes. I've been trying to teach you how to think. I'm not telling you what to take, right? Like my purpose is to teach you how to think so you can be a better consumer and better patient. And think for yourself so that you're not just, being bought into whatever drug commercial comes on or whatever supplement thing that pop up on the internet banner ads. You're thinking for yourself. That probably is the most valuable thing. If I can teach you how to think, then you'll be able to be a better patient and get better results, okay? Now, another factor that can cause fatigue and brain fog is blood sugar issues. This is so common. And remember earlier we talked about fuel being glucose. So if your blood sugar is not just perfect, you're going to have brain fog and fatigue. Because high blood sugar by itself is inflammatory. High blood sugar by itself, in fact, is probably the most inflammatory things that you can have in the body. And in fact, what they're calling now Alzheimer's disease, they're calling it diabetes type 3 because they see so much connection and correlation between people with Alzheimer's disease and that they also have blood sugar issues that basically they're calling Alzheimer's disease diabetes type 3. So blood sugar is very damaging to all tissues in the body, but especially to neurons or nerve cells and brain cells. So blood sugar issue can lead to brain fog and definitely can affect energy delivery because again, when your blood sugar runs high all the time, your body have to secrete insulin. When you have too much insulin being secreted all the time, your cells become resistant to that insulin, which means that the insulin is no longer to carry glucose into your cell. So guess what? If you can't get blood sugar into your cell, how's your cell going to get energy? It can't even get that delivered. It's like you have gasoline in a gas station, but you can't get that gasoline from the gas station into your car. So even though you got plenty of gas at the gas station, there's no gasoline in the car. Therefore, your car won't run. That's why people with high blood sugar can be fatigued. Literally, they're just dying of starvation. Even though they're eating all the sugar, your cells are dying, being destroyed of low energy. Okay, so that's a very bad thing to have. Another common thing that I see people with fatigue issue is that they're not able to detox properly. The detoxification is hindered or impaired. Why? Because we live in a toxic environment. We live in a toxic soup, so to speak, right? From pesticides to herbicides to processing, the chemicals in our food supply, to things in our environment like fire retardant material, like the petrochemicals that we breathe, and the pollution in the air. I mean, there's so much chemicals in our environment that it's a miracle that we're even alive. Okay, so these toxicity influences, and not to mention pharmaceutical drugs, which also contribute to that toxicity. And then you have people who purposely poison themselves with alcohol or cigarette or other things. So, I mean, a lot of people have a really toxic body and toxic system. And what happens is it hinders your liver and gallbladder's ability to detox. And usually the end result is that the gallbladder will become sludged, requiring a gallbladder removal because of gallstone formation or otherwise. So if you say, yeah, my gallbladder is removed, just go ahead and say yeah, I had a toxicity issue. That's basically what happened. You had a toxicity issue that's causing the gallbladder to be so sludged up that it needs to be removed. Now that you remove the gallbladder, did you actually correct the underlying problem, which is toxicity issue? No, the toxicity issue is still there. In fact, you have decreased ability to detox now. You need even more help. Okay? So this can also cause people to be fatigued and brain foggy because these toxins, if it's not eliminated, can circulate back into your body in a more potent and more toxic form. And that toxic recirculation can create a lot of inflammation, which at the end of the day can create more brain fog and fatigue. Okay, so definitely that's a very common issue, right? These are all stuff that is not like a rare disease that nobody has. These are blood sugar problem. Is that common in America? Absolutely. Just look at diabetes. It's rampant. It's epidemic. Toxicity issues. Our environment's toxic. Tons of people have this issue. Gut issues. Is that common? Tons of people. Probably some of you watching right now have some kind of digestion issue where you feel gassy, bloated, reflux, you can't digest well, you have heartburn, you may have constipation, diarrhea. You have all that. And then on top of that, you have blood sugar fluctuations where you have belly fat and your doctor tells you have prediabetes or you're already diabetic, or you have hypoglycemia, which is just as bad. If you have low blood sugar, that's not good either for your brain, right? Because remember, your brain needs glucose. If you have hypoglycemia where you get shaky, lightheaded, irritable without eating, then you got problem with blood sugar delivery as well. That's just as bad for your energy level and for your brain. And then you may have detoxification issues. These are people typically with detox issues. You're sensitive to chemicals. You may be sensitive to food. You may be having skin issues because when you can't detox, then the chemical will kind of seep out through your skin. Your skin is the largest organ of elimination. And so you may have eczema, rashes, psoriasis, things like that, or hives. These are usually signs of a toxic liver or toxicity issues. Your skin may be, especially in your hands and the palm of your feet, may be red, or the skin is peeling. That's also a sign of a toxicity issue. You may have trouble with greasy or fatty food. That's usually a gallbladder issue. So these are all symptoms that I'm just kind of running down with you to kind of give you an idea of what may be happening that you may be experiencing that actually has a clue. You see, your body leaves clues. Your body leaves clues. You never have a symptom without an underlying reason why you have that symptom. It's not, I just have it once in a while. Well, there's a reason for that once in a while. You need to find that reason and address that reason, okay? Another factor that can cause fatigue and brain fog is hormonal issues. Hormonal, okay? Now, specifically, thyroid hormone. as you well know, thyroid hormone controls metabolism. And if you have low thyroid function, not only can you have fatigue and brain fog, you can also have weight gain, you can have cold hands, cold feet, you can have dry skin, maybe the outer 1/3 of your eyebrow thins, or you have hair loss, thinning hair, or brittle hair. You may have constipation, you may also have digestion issues, and maybe even some bloating associated with that, because a lot of people with thyroid problem actually have what's called Hashimoto's disease, which is an autoimmune disease of the thyroid. And when you have autoimmune disease, typically we have leaky gut associated with that autoimmune disease. And typically when you have leaky gut, we also see people with gluten sensitivity or other food sensitivity. So a lot of these thyroid patients actually have leaky gut and autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's, and food sensitivity is one of their triggers. So you may have thyroid problem and have weight gain, fatigue, hair loss, but then also GI problems. Okay? And along with thyroid problem, you're going to have a lot of neurological symptoms like brain fog, you may have depression, you may have the inability to concentrate, you may have memory loss. These are all thyroid symptoms. Sounds like it's wow, everything in the body shuts down when you have thyroid problem. It's true, because you have thyroid receptors in every single cell in your body, with the brain being the most profound. So when your thyroid function go down, everything in your body basically shuts down, with the brain being the most severe. That's why you have fatigue, brain fog. Remember, I said fatigue, brain fog, they are brain symptoms. When thyroid function goes down, the brain's the most affected, therefore you experience those things, okay? Very important. Another hormone that can be associated with fatigue and brain fog is adrenal dysfunction. So if you have heard of adrenal fatigue, when people say adrenal fatigue, what that means is adrenal hypofunction. Low adrenal function. It means your adrenal gland is constantly pumping out stress hormone because you're so darn stressed and inflamed that it's constantly pumping out stress hormone, and you eventually run out. Right? Because hormone production, it's not like it's an unlimited supply. You can only make so much hormone in a day. And remember, hormone production comes from what? Comes from food. Amino acid comes from steroid hormone, so you need to have cholesterol, you need to have fat. You need to get it from food. You need to eat healthy amount of food. And for your body to be able to absorb that food, can't have leaky gut. Once you absorb the food, your body has to be able to assemble these nutrients to make hormones, to make protein, to make your brain cells, to make whatever it is in your body. So nutrition is so important. If you have low adrenal function, that can definitely cause brain fog and fatigue. But know that if you have hyperadrenal function, where you're stressed out of your mind, your body is making so much cortisol, it's through the roof, that can also cause fatigue and brain fog. Because when you have high cortisol, you'll become really inflamed. Okay? And that inflammation, again, can cause inflammation in the brain. And high cortisol can also jack up your blood sugar, causing insulin resistance, and that can also cause fatigue as well. Okay? So you can have hormonal issues. Definitely testosterone is another one. That's for guys, but in girls too, that can cause some fatigue as well. Those are the main hormones that's involved in this. So we have so far brain, gut, blood sugar, detox, hormones. Okay? Next, some people may have blood sugar issue due to oxygenation. And we kind of touched on that with brain, okay? But brain can be affected by many things. Besides fuel and activation, inflammation can affect the brain. So if you have some type of autoimmune disease like Hashimoto's, many times the inflammation can spill into your brain, and you can have inflammation in the brain due to an autoimmune disease, a pre-existing autoimmune disease. You can also have brain that's not working right due to heavy metal toxicity. Brain is a fatty tissue. 70% of your brain is made of fat. And a lot of these organic chemicals and non-organic chemicals, like heavy metal toxins, they're lipophilic, means they like fat. So they be attracted to fatty tissue, like bone marrow, like your myelin sheath, like brain tissue. So toxicity issue really affect brain too, okay? But oxygenation is important. We talked about anemia, but really just deconditioning. If you're just like aerobically deconditioned, that can also decrease oxygenation. Or you just have poor breathing mechanic. You just don't even breathe properly, right? You shallow breathe, or you just stress. You don't breathe right. Stress is a big killer. Okay, so you gotta learn how to slow down. That's why breathing exercise and meditation is so good for people. And yoga, if you breathe right during yoga, then that can be very helpful. So oxygenation is really important. So now we touched on 6. So last piece, we have genetics, specifically MTHFR. Let's see if we can make this clear. MTHFR or other genetic issues. So really this kind of leads into mitochondrial dysfunction. Okay, mitochondrial dysfunction. So mitochondria are the battery, the powerhouse of your cells. Every single cell in your body has a mitochondria, which makes energy for your cells. That's how you're able to stay alive. So these mitochondria is really important. Now, if the mitochondria somehow dysfunctions, they're not able to make energy, then obviously you're going to experience fatigue and brain fog. Now, one of the reasons that you can have that is some people have actually a genetic SNP, where they have a genetic mutation where they don't process that, they don't make the mitochondria properly. But more commonly, what I see with people with mitochondrial dysfunction is that they have oxidative stress. Oxidative stress, just another code word for inflammation. Okay, your body's oxidizing, inflammation. If you have cell membrane issues, cell membrane rigidity can also cause issues with that. Now, cell membrane, every single cell has a cell membrane that kind of is like a wall that lets nutrient in and out. It's like a transport mechanism. If you have essential fatty acid deficiency, that can cause cell membrane rigidity and affect nutrient transport. That can also cause problems. Toxicity can affect mitochondria. And so what I want to tell you is that there's 7 different factors that can cause fatigue and brain fog. And what happens when you experience those symptoms, don't take it as simply, oh, I'm just tired. If you're tired all the time and you don't recover, there's something more underlying that. And what happens is not as simple as, oh, my doctor checked my thyroid, it's fine. Well, they may not have done all the tests. The last episode, you can go down our timeline and look at the last episode. I talked about lab tests and why lab tests a lot of times shows that your test is normal, but you still don't feel normal. So watch that last episode to catch up. But a lot of times doctors just do this test, and that's it. And they do your blood sugar, they say you're fine. You're not diabetic yet. But guess what? You don't have to be diabetic to have poor blood sugar function. It's got to be perfect. You just got to be like out of that perfect range to feel lousy, but you don't have to be diabetic to feel lousy. Okay, so there's a lot to it. Make sure you're working with a healthcare professional that can kind of see the whole picture, check the brain, do a functional neurological exam, and do a correct functional medicine assessment and look at the whole history and the whole person so that we can actually get the underlying root cause of your health problem and get your health back. Okay, and that's all we do. In our office, we have a proprietary program called Neurometabolic Integration that I created specifically to help people with the neurological aspect and with the functional medicine aspect. So when I combine the brain and the rest of the body together, we're able to get results much better than we just addressing one aspect or the other. Okay, so hopefully this helps you. And now we have a workshop I want to invite you to this Tuesday, 5:30. It's called a Thyroid Solution Workshop. In this workshop, I want to talk about the thyroid, break out this section right here and talk about it in detail. If you've never been to it and you struggle with thyroid symptoms like fatigue, weight gain, hair loss, cold hands, cold feet, I invite you to come to that workshop. It's Tuesday at 5:30. You can register at AskDrKan.com. Again, AskDrKan.com/thyroid. You can register online. Or you can call 480-988-6269 to register. I'll put the link on the Facebook post here so you can click on it and register online if you want to. This Wednesday, right? Do we have Wednesday autoimmune? So this Wednesday we also have an autoimmune workshop. It's called an Autoimmune Solutions Workshop. So if you suffer with Hashimoto's, Graves' disease, you have rheumatoid arthritis, you have MS, you have celiac disease, Crohn's disease, any type of autoimmune disease, and you're not satisfied with the answer and the treatment that you're getting currently, or you have a mystery illness where your doctor can't figure out, they think it's autoimmune, but nothing's confirmed, you want to come to the free Autoimmune Solution Workshop. That's Wednesday at 5 p.m. Call 480-988-6269 to register, or online at azautoimmunedoctor.com. Okay, so we'll put the link up on this post so you can click on it. Again, if you have any question, feel free to comment and like and share this video, please. If someone you know or you yourself is struggling with a chronic health condition, please like and share this video because some people can benefit from that. Okay, so I want to thank you all for joining me this week on the Ask Dr. Kan show. We'll be back next Monday at 12:30. Have a great week. We'll see you soon.